Welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas, and in this episode we are going to be reviewing the team that finished in second place, the best of the rest, which was Red Bull Racing. Now they headed into the 2016 season in a bit of a down note. Obviously the biggest one was their falling out with Renault from last season. Obviously they kept a Renault engine for the 2016 season, but Renault made them change the name to Tag Heuer. Obviously that was their biggest sponsor that came in for the 2016 season. Tag Heuer left McLaren and then joined Red Bull Racing. Obviously a big one that left Red Bull to join Renault was Infiniti. Anyway, so Red Bull Racing rolled into this season with Daniel Kvyat and Daniel Ricciardo, drivers that they had retained from the 2015 season. It was going to be a good partnership like it was in that year. Obviously in 2015 they missed out on 3 wins down to Ferrari, if you like, because obviously again like 2014 and like this year will turn out to be Mercedes just on a class of their own. Obviously, so 3 wins down, if you like, to Ferrari, but it was still a good partnership from the two Daniels. Obviously, for their best race was the 2015 Hungarian Grand Prix when they both got on the podium, or even Daniel Kvyat's best race so far. Anyway, so they went into this racing, they went into the 2016 season, and the first race was obviously Daniel Ricciardo's home race. Obviously, he was very happy going into Australia. He had a good finish in Australia, he had a 4th place, but Daniel Kvyat, unfortunately, he did not start the race. It was car reliability. Again, not what Red Bull wanted. They got off on the wrong foot. I mean, obviously that was absolutely terrible. And that was the only DNS I saw in Australia. So Daniel Kvyat was like, everyone was looking up or down the grid, depending on obviously which team you were, and thinking, hang on a minute, Red Bull Racing, we're obviously the team with Sebastian Vettel 4 times. And, they're having these problems to start with. That's not what they want, but obviously 4th place for Daniel Ricciardo was good and what he wanted at his home race. Obviously not his best position at his home race, but it was still good on to get the season off in a 4th place position. The second race in Bahrain again finished with a 4th place for Daniel Ricciardo, again on a track like Bahrain that he enjoys, and it was a good race for Daniel Kvyat, who finished in 7th place. A good drive from him, obviously doing some great battles with Felipe Massa and the Romain Grosjean of Haas, but obviously 7th place was very good for him. A good haul of points, really his first haul of points and really his first race he wants to class it as, because obviously he did not start in Australia. In the next race in the Chinese Grand Prix, Daniel Kvyat finished in 3rd place when his teammate finished in 4th place. It could have been a double Red Bull drivers on the podium, but obviously when Nico Rosberg, Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Kvyat just snuck on there. But obviously the biggest story came out of China, which was obviously that Sebastian Vettel clipped Kimi Raikkonen, caused by Daniel Kvyat. Well, you kind of, again, we're sceptical on that, but that's what Sebastian Vettel said. And then obviously JT, he came out with his most famous line of this season, and one that'll be repeated for many, many years. You came in like a torpedo. And obviously that will never go. I've actually finally been saying it enough to actually reach this point where it actually makes sense to say it. Obviously, Sebastian Vettel said it to the Red Bull driver of Daniel Kvyat. Anyway, so they headed into Kvyat's home race of Russia. So what could he do from there? Anyway, it was a very chaotic first lap, hitting about 4 drivers, and then obviously causing Sebastian Vettel to spin off and crash into the barrier. I also mentioned this in the Russian Grand Prix review, but the name of the grandstand was actually the Daniel Kvyat grandstand that he crashed right in front of. So he would have seen Daniel Kvyat fans and a big statue of a big poster of Daniel Kvyat on the side of the grandstand. Anyway, so it was a 15th place at the end for him in his home race, which obviously was incredibly disappointing. Also for your home race, but also as a Red Bull. That's terrible for a Red Bull. Red Bull's worst position as well from the driver of the season. Daniel Ricciardo also finished in 11th out of the points, the only time he has been out of the points in the season, of the season so far, and then obviously the season as a whole, but we'll get onto that later on. Between the Russian and the Spanish Grand Prix, okay, so obviously if you want to refresh your mind, maybe go back a few episodes and click on the Toro Rosso video where we talk about obviously Max moving up and Daniel coming down. Now obviously we talked in the Toro Rosso video about Daniel coming down and what he did, but we finally got to the moment where we're going to be talking about what Max did. And obviously, wow,
nobody predicted this.
No,
nobody.
Do you know what, guys? Obviously I don't think it was the fact that he was the youngest winner at 18 years old. Obviously that was a fantastic stat,
yeah.
But I don't think that was the thing that impressed me the most. I think the thing that impressed me the most was that the fact that this was his very first race with Red Bull Racing, and he did it obviously at his first race in the big team. Obviously he's been working so hard to get through there. Obviously he's beaten Toro Rosso, their junior team, up to Red Bull Racing, and also as well, he did this with loads of pressure on his shoulders, obviously because in the paddock everyone will have been watching him. Obviously the whole world will have been watching him. Daniel Kvyat fans who might not be liking him and going, oh come on Max, you're going to fail. We all know that. Obviously Max Verstappen fans who will be going, come on Max, we believe in you so much. Obviously everyone else as well who just doesn't know what to make of it, a bit like us when we made that Trading Places video. What are we going to make of it? Obviously Helmut Marko, Dietrich Mateschitz, Christian Horner, obviously Frank Tots and all the Toro Rosso team, Daniel Kvyat, so everyone. I don't think there's a single person on earth who wasn't watching Max Verstappen's performance in that race, putting pressure on his 18-year-old shoulders, and obviously he beat all of that to finish in first place, and obviously that was just absolutely unbelievable. His first race with the team, and obviously I know you can kind of class that, a lot of people were comparing obviously when Fernando Alonso won the 2010 Bahrain Grand Prix, but obviously Fernando Alonso was a double world champion at that time. Max that was his first race. He was 18, and just unbelievable. Anyway, so obviously he finished that race in first place. Daniel Ricciardo finished that in fourth. So they rolled into the next round, which really was absolutely special for Red Bull Racing. Obviously the gap between Spain and Monaco was where the team were going, right, come on guys, Max has just won the race, we are on easy street. Daniel Kvyat was our he was our anchor, obviously pulling us down, not letting us move. Obviously, and now that we've shed him, we can push forward. Max Verstappen's got an amazing. Come on, he's won. And technically, a bit like Stoffel Van Dorn's statistics, he has won. If you're just going to count the Spanish Grand Prix, he'd won at every single race. You know what I mean? But obviously, he would have to prove himself more in Monaco. What was he going to do now? Obviously, Monaco wasn't great for Max. He did kind of. I don't know if it was the pressure. Or obviously, I'm not sure what it was, but you kind of can see where the pressure can maybe play into it, because obviously he would have got all this media attention. Obviously, me and JT were bigging him up so much, and if you think about it, all of that, all of the world doing that, and going to Max, maybe he would have maybe just felt that pressure, and maybe it was a bit too much for him. And obviously the elements did play into it. The rain in Monaco Grand Prix, obviously crashing twice, so it wasn't great for him. Obviously he retired from the Monaco Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo, on the other hand, did an amazing race to finish in pole position on the Saturday, but obviously a pit stop error and a tactical error meant that he obviously was dropped down to second place. He was very not happy with that. He told Christian Horner, just save your breath, on the radio. That was obviously one of his most famous messages, just save your breath. I don't want to hear it, because obviously what you're going to say to me is, well done Daniel, second place. First place was just out of our reach. It was like, no, it's not me. It's not anything to do with my driving. It's, you've done this. Obviously, me coming into the pits, and then you kind of having a cup of tea, watching the world go by, and then go, oh, Daniel's coming into pits.
Where did he come from?
He came in like a torpedo.
Basically,
that's obviously one of the best references ever. He came in like a torpedo. But anyway, obviously that was a bad race for Daniel Ricciardo. A great second place, but obviously that could have been a first, and obviously that would have been unbelievable, because obviously that would have been a double Red Bull win in the middle of obviously all the Mercedes carnage after Spain, and obviously Max winning, and obviously it would have been unbelievable for them. We rolled into Canada, which was obviously the next round, which is where Daniel Ricciardo got his first win with the team in 2014. Daniel Ricciardo finished in 7th place, while Max Verstappen finished in 4th. It was another 7th for Daniel Ricciardo in the Azerbaijan Baku circuit in the European Grand Prix, and it was an 8th place for Verstappen. A 5th place at the home race for Red Bull Racing at Austria was a 5th place for Daniel Ricciardo, and a very good 2nd place by Max Verstappen. He did an unbelievable race, was very, very close to winning the race, obviously with Mercedes' last lap carnage. Obviously, as you remember, Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton comes together. Nico Rosberg drops back with obviously his front wing going under the car, and Max Verstappen was close, and he could have done, and obviously that would have been unbelievable again, because obviously it was the team's home race, and obviously 18 years old, blah blah blah. So they headed into the next round, obviously, which was Great Britain. Daniel Ricciardo did a good race to finish 4th place, but the best drive by Max Verstappen on that day, he was very, very close. I'd say 99.99999% gonna win driver of the day. Obviously, we had to give it to Lewis Hamilton because he's a home driver, and it was a great race. It was a flawless weekend. Yeah. But Max Verstappen, obviously me and JT saw him, and obviously I lost my voice because I was just shouting his name so loud. But obviously, unbelievable by this guy. He finished the race in 3rd position, moved up to second and 3rd, and then moved up to 2nd in the final classifications. But obviously that was absolutely unbelievable from him. A third place for Daniel Ricciardo at the Hungarian Grand Prix, which is obviously really great from him. He loves the circuit, and again, as I say, that's where he got his second win with the team in 2014. A fifth place for Max Verstappen in Hungary wasn't great, but obviously if you take out Monaco, he's scored in every single race, which was really good for him. Then Germany, the German Grand Prix, which was obviously the last race before the season break. Red Bull had an amazing finish to the first part of the season. A third place by Max Verstappen and a second place by Daniel Ricciardo. His 100th Grand Prix in Formula 1, an amazing podium, double Red Bulls as well, earned him Driver of the Day. That was probably the easiest driver of the day the second easiest, because obviously Max Verstappen, I think, if you didn't give him Driver of the Day in Spain, there was something very, 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 very wrong with you. But obviously, Daniel Ricciardo's was very, very easy. Yeah. Anyway, so now, summer break. Or, as Daniel Ricciardo would do it, a winter break. So, we have finished the first part of the season, and Red Bull are very, very happy. Okay, so obviously, I think we're going to review the 3 drivers, but obviously it's mainly 2. So, Daniel Kvyat's performance, I would say it's strong. Now, again, we're not going to start trading places here, obviously, because we did that video. It was a long time ago, over 1,000 views. Nearly 1,000 views. Obviously, Spanish Grand Prix review was as well. Again, where that was in heads to talk about. Yeah. But we made the trading place video over an hour, so if you want to go and check that out, please do, because we're not going to do it in here. But obviously, that is a massive topic, because Daniel Kvyat actually did a half decent job in the first 4 races that he did. Obviously, his 7th place in Bahrain was okay. Yes, his 15th place in Russia wasn't great, but I mean, come on, 3rd place in China is fantastic. You finished behind Sebastian Vettel. You have beaten some unbelievable drivers. You finished ahead of your teammate also. I mean, that's the thing that I think when the trading places thing came about, that was the thing that me and JT couldn't understand properly, because it was just unbelievable at that time. Obviously, he won Driver of the Day as well, which is what we couldn't get. So Daniel Kvyat did really well. So I'd give his overall performance a C. And the reason why I went back to Toro Rosso at that point would be like a no way. But obviously after Spain, or after a few days' time, it was a, yep, you can go down, because we found another person who's here to stay, and that's Max. Yeah. So Max Verstappen's performance. The car's performance, I'm going to give that a strong B overall. Obviously, if you think about Mercedes are at the top, Red Bull are definitely best of the rest. They're definitely showing their authority, stamping their authority against Ferrari. Obviously, a win compared to Ferrari's, here and there, hit and miss. Max Verstappen's performance, so I would give that a strong B. Obviously, when he was at Toro Rosso, we're not grading that, but he was average. But when he came to Red Bull, he blossomed so much. A start Spain, maybe he kind of dropped down a bit after that, but a B for the first part of the season. And Daniel Ricciardo, again, I would give that a B. Not as good as Max, but still very, very good. He scored points in every single round he did, bar one, which was in the Russian Grand Prix, which obviously was a bad race for Red Bull, but very strong by Daniel. An overall team performance grade would be a B for the first part of the season. So JT, Red Bull Racing, best of the rest, even at the summer or winter break. I mean, and obviously Max's win as well. They've had an unbelievable start to the season, haven't they?
They did as well. I was very, very surprised with Red Bull's pace. After 2015, it wasn't really a successful season. It was probably the worst season that they've had in Formula 1. Well, one of the worst. So, coming into 2016, I wasn't really expecting much from Red Bull. At the time, they had Daniel Kvyat, so I wasn't really rating him highly as a driver, because he didn't really show in 2015. So, I think the lack of experience kind of showed in 2015. But coming into 2016, I was like, well, I think they'll do okay. I think Ricciardo will actually outclass Daniel. But then when Max Verstappen came in and then won the race, I was like, right, now here we go. Now we've got a competition here for 2 really good drivers now. So that's when I think Red Bull, for me, really, woke up. The caffeine kicked in really when Max Verstappen came into the team in Spain. Very happy he did. He's shown that he's what a driver he actually is. And ever since then, really, Red Bull have only got stronger and stronger and stronger. Obviously, at the halfway stage, I believe Ferrari was still ahead but Red Bull on sheer pace were actually quicker. And at one time, we were all looking at the constructors going, I think Red Bull are going to catch them at some point. But overall, I was very impressed with Red Bull, very impressed with the 2 drivers, very disappointed for Daniel Ricciardo at Monaco. Me personally, I was absolutely gutted to see that they did lose out of the race. Very, very angry. Obviously, he was upset, he was angry on the podium, he never smiled. And when does Daniel Ricciardo never smile? You know what I mean? That's just barbaric. You know, it's absolutely like mental just to even think that Daniel Ricciardo not smiling. So it's something I never want to see again. So Ricciardo, if you are watching this, I hope you keep smiling like you normally do, which is very, very nice. But obviously, don't do Monaco again. Either Red Bull or Daniel Ricciardo. So obviously, coming into the Belgian Grand Prix after the summer break, Max Verstappen's home race, arguably, if you want to debate about that. Obviously, if he's Dutch, Belgium, or whatever. So coming into Belgium, there, Daniel Ricciardo got a second place, a podium finish. Very well done there to get back on track to try and catch possibly the Mercedes. At this time, they're a bit unsure, but they were going into a battle with Ferrari, which obviously it's better than no battle at all. I suppose best of the rest, as I've been saying all episode. Max Verstappen got P11, not a good start. What you want to do, come back into the summer break. P11, the car wasn't really there for him, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure that in time the results will pick up for the young Dutchman. Head into the Italian Grand Prix, a P5 for Daniel Ricciardo, P7 for Max Verstappen. At the Singapore, the race under the lights, P2 for Daniel Ricciardo, very good, strong result there. Another podium finish for Daniel Ricciardo. That's what he wants. He's back to winning form. He's back to winning. Well, he's not back to winning ways, but he's back on a more positive note. Let's say after all them struggles that he did have in Monaco, all forgotten now. Street circuits are now Daniel Ricciardo's favourite. A P2 that was actually smiling, guys. Very, very happy about that. P6 for Max Verstappen. Now Malaysia. Now this is a Grand Prix that everybody remembers. Lewis Hamilton's engine blown up. And that was absolutely amazing. But the best thing about it, what I thought, is that was a Red Bull 1-2. And the best thing about probably the even better thing about that is that both guys were going wheel to wheel action. That was what Multi 21 should have happened, basically. Sebastian Vettel would be watching that race going, right, that's what was supposed to happen. You know what I mean? You know, obviously it was absolutely incredible. Both teammates going at each other, giving each other enough space. The team allowed them and everything, and obviously it was absolutely amazing just to see that. Brilliant driving, just showed how good these two really are, and it paid off. Daniel Ricciardo won the race, his first win of the season, first win since was it Hungarian Grand Prix 2014? I think that was his last win. Belgian Grand Prix 2014. Yes, you keep me right, LC. So absolutely incredible about that. Max Verstappen got a P2, so Red Bull 1-2, absolutely amazing. Jump over a week to the Japanese Grand Prix, P6 for Daniel Ricciardo. Another podium for Max Verstappen, P2. Absolutely amazing about that. I think at this stage he was battling for P3, I think it was, between Vettel and Ricciardo and Raikkonen. So obviously in amongst there with a lot of really good drivers was Max Verstappen. A retirement followed at the United States Grand Prix for Max Verstappen, but a P3 for Daniel Ricciardo. And another P3 followed at the Mexican Grand Prix, followed by a P4 for Max Verstappen. At the Brazilian Grand Prix, P8 for Daniel Ricciardo, but a P3 for Max Verstappen. Now, for me, this has to be the best drive of the season, probably one of the best drives we've seen in modern era Formula 1. Definitely in the noughties, definitely. Because it went from, it was near the top, about P3, P4 for most of the race. Then obviously it was ever-changing conditions, wet, intermediates. They didn't know what to be on, they didn't know what tyre was right. Max Verstappen was on intermediate tyres, the rain got heavier, he pitted, went on the wets, came out and absolutely just drove his heart out. I think it was a P15 at one stage and ended up going on to the podium, P3. Absolutely amazing. Overtaking Checo about the last 2 or 3 laps. So what an unbelievable, well-deserved drive of the day, definitely for that. And then at the final Grand Prix, P5 for Daniel Ricciardo, P4 for Max Verstappen, ending off what has been, I would say, a successful season for Red Bull. Yes, though, about half points away from Mercedes. However, progress was definitely made from 2015 into 2016. Let's hope 2017 can, produce some more race wins and actually have a good shout of win another title. They haven't won one since 2013. So Red Bull, as a constructive winning team, they're on a bit of a dry spell. So I don't want to hope that, let's not be a McLaren, let's not hope that doesn't continue for very, very long. So I'm just going to rate this overall. I'm going to say that for Daniel Ricciardo, I'm going to grade him now. I would say performance an A, an effort an A, definitely very well done for Daniel Ricciardo. Very impressed with his driving this season. I do hope he will win more races with Red Bull. I believe he'll stay there for a good few years now. Maybe win a championship with them should they get a car to where they want. And obviously if he can keep Max Verstappen behind him at all times, I'm pretty sure that this rivalry could, or let's say this friendship could maybe turn into a rivalry. We all know how friendships turn into rivalries very fast in Formula 1, don't we, Mercedes? So that is my grades for Daniel Ricciardo. Max Verstappen, however, effort A-star, performance A-star. What a guy, what a driver this kid is. I love him, honestly. I love this guy, really. I honestly do. Rate him highly as a Formula 1 driver. Tip for many big things, this kid. So obviously, I'm pretty sure everyone will agree with me about rating him A-star on both occasions, effort and performance. What a driver he is. Red Bull as a whole, I'm going to give him A, performance, and effort, and A-star, because, yes, obviously, just behind the Mercedes, but they were the best of the rest, overtaking Ferrari and everything, just keeping ahead of them. Managed to progress. They could say at the start of the season that they were losing out to Ferrari, and they were like, right, we need to, pick things up, but we need to upgrade the car, we need to work hard. Bring the Max Verstappen, best thing Red Bull could have done, and that was absolutely amazing. And Everson said the only win was up, basically. Caught Ferrari, overtook them, and then laid about nearly like, 60, 70 odd points. Absolutely incredible about that. Well done, Red Bull. Definitely get star students, Red Bull, definitely are. Every one of you, pat on the back. Screw Mercedes. Mercedes, obviously, they were going to win, but Red Bull, definitely for me, if they were the team of the season, it would probably go at Red Bull, in my opinion. Very well done, guys. From the guys from Milton Keynes. But yes, that is my grades for Red Bull, Elsie. I'm pretty sure that you'll be satisfied about that, because I know you're a Red Bull fan yourself.
JC, obviously, I agree with you completely. Absolutely unbelievable performance by the team, by the two drivers. Obviously, 2015 was disappointing, because obviously they had 3 wins in 2014, didn't, but then obviously, as I said at the start of the video, they fell out with Renault. Well, they didn't really fall out, they're not kids, but they had disagreements with Renault. Obviously, Renault weren't very happy, they had to call a Tag Heuer engine, but they're now back. Obviously, Renault was still on the there it is. No, it's not, that's the AT&T. Where's Renault? It's somewhere on the shirt. Anyway, but anyway, obviously they're very happy. They're calling it a Renault engine next year. So obviously, absolutely unbelievable. And their two drivers, absolutely unbelievable. JT. Now, I do still believe that obviously they would have. Maybe they would have. I mean, obviously, like let's say Max's side would kind of have achieved the same thing with Daniel Kvyat, but obviously it would have just been like similar. It wouldn't have been obviously the amazing thing that he did, and obviously, as JT said, the unbelievable drive that Max Verstappen did, was P16 to P3 in Brazil, in Interlagos, was absolutely unbelievable. I think it's the factors obviously that Sebastian Vettel had in obviously Brazil 2012. Red Bull in the wet. That's the thing that he could do and overcome it. So it was a car, but it was obviously his unbelievable drive. That was great from that. Obviously, A star for Red Bull's performance, absolutely unbelievable. Moving forward like they did is amazing. Effort. So obviously, effort A star, performance A, because obviously they didn't get Mercedes, which is a shame. They should have been caught, but obviously, as we're going to say tomorrow, obviously, Mercedes, you'll find out, are in a class. Well, are in a class of their own. But tomorrow, even when we tell you the results again, that's going to mean they're even more in a class of their own, because it has been unbelievable. Obviously, they've dominated the whole season, almost every single race. So it's a real shame that. But obviously, Ferrari, Red Bull, best of the rest, beating Ferrari, as JT said, obviously 70 points ahead is absolutely unbelievable. Max and Daniel, great drivers, and I'll tell you what, I'm obviously my grades are going to be incredibly high. I'm going to agree with JD, but I'm going to probably give them both A stars, and I'm going to tell you who I believe has done the best performance for Red Bull this year, and I'm going to give that to both of them. I'm going to do a primary school sports day, and I'm going to say everyone's a winner. Everyone leaves with a medal. Everyone go and get some cake. You've done a great job. Equally, nobody's better than nobody. Nobody's better than anyone. You know what I mean? Everyone's the same because you all have. Now, obviously, I mean, I'd even grade like Christian Horner and people like that with the two drivers, because obviously Red Bull have done unbelievable. And as JD said, we'll be praising them to come. Hopefully next year they can get back up to their constructor winning form. It will be hard, but hopefully they'll do it, because obviously, as you know, Nico's out, so Mercedes at the moment only have Lewis, who don't have another world champion, but obviously Max Verstappen definitely will be in the future. Daniel Ricciardo definitely will be in the future. That is for sure, and it will be in Formula 1 as well. It won't be anywhere else. I mean, Red Bull, come on, are absolutely unbelievable. I've had so much fun talking about them, and so has JD, and I hope you've enjoyed this video as well. Red Bull Racing, the team that came in second, the best of the rest. And even a stat that, obviously, if you remember, obviously, if Mercedes weren't there, if Mercedes and Nico and Lewis weren't in Formula 1, Red Bull would have won the Constructors, and Daniel Ricciardo would have won the Drivers. In about, I think it was Mexico or something like that, he would have lifted it. So obviously absolutely unbelievable stats by them. So obviously thank you very much for watching the Red Bull review in the 12 Days of Christmas. Please catch us tomorrow when we review the last team, which is the champions Mercedes. They were crowned in October, 4 rounds before the end of the season, and obviously, as I say, they dominated almost every single race with Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. So please catch us for that. Please check out last night's video, which was Ferrari and we hope you enjoyed the series so far and what's to come. So obviously, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you for the Mercedes review tomorrow. See you later, guys.
See you later, guys.